What is the difference between cage raising and free-ranging rabbits? Now, you can't really free-range rabbits, but I think you mean colony, so we're going to talk about that. My name is Haley, and I'm here to teach you about meat rabbits. So we do raise ours hybrid. We do both cage and colony, so I can kind of give you a little bit on both sides. Raising rabbits in cages is going to give you a little bit more individual maintenance to do. You have to feed separately, water separately. However, it's a little bit safer for things like parasites and disease control. All of your rabbits are separated, nobody's touching each other unless you're breeding, and it's a lot easier to control who's where, who's breeding with who, and who's exposed to what. On the other hand, colony is a little bit easier in terms of daily maintenance. All of your rabbits are fed and watered in a group, so you really only need one feeder and one waterer. However, it's a little bit more risky. You do have to be very careful of parasites, and if your rabbits, if one of them does get exposed to something, your entire group is exposed. So it's a little bit more risky in that matter. It's a little bit more work in that regard, but you really have to weigh your risks when considering colonies. So if you have diseases that are prevalent in your area that are really risky to your rabbits, you might want to go with cages. If you are pretty low risk and you're in a pretty low risk area, you can probably get away with doing colony. Another great advantage with colony is that your bucks and does will breed automatically. As long as you have a buck in the colony, you won't have to breed them yourself. You won't have to really keep track of anything like that. The downside to that, though, is that if your buck and does are overzealous, they will just continue to breed. Our rabbits typically breed about every 5 or 6 weeks, which works for us because we go through a lot of rabbit, but if you wanted to breed less often, you would likely have to take the buck out and reintroduce him to the does every so often. But overall, my overwhelming preference between the two is a hybrid of both. That way you can do as you need to for each of your individual rabbits. You're not stuck with one way versus the other, because I really enjoy the group setting of the colony, but I also like being able to separate them out if I'm doing like pedigree tracking, or if I have a rabbit that for whatever reason needs to be separated. There you have it. Those are the general basic pros and cons to both. I hope that was able to help, and follow for more rabbit tips.